Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And today I want to talk a little bit about crafting. Now we have a simple implementation of crafting in 3.18 right now, where there was an issue with the vulture. People who took the vulture out and forgot their multi-tool couldn't really manage the cargo in the back of the ship. So CIG added a kind of 3D printer to the salvage dispenser on the vulture that allowed players to make a multi-tool, to make a tractor beam attachment, to make a salvage attachment, and I think canisters. So this is kind of the first implementation of crafting in Star Citizen. No one really expected this coming. This wasn't really on any kind of roadmap, and CIG kind of explains it as a stopgap solution until they fully integrate a real crafting system. Now, Chris Roberts has been seen many times saying that he doesn't really want a traditional MMO style crafting system in Star Citizen, and whatever system does get implemented, CIG is going to kind of finally control it. Essentially, they don't want to introduce a system that players are going to try to grind through, min-max, or exploit, or use to RMC, or basically real world money transactions. And this is a major issue in a lot of other MMOs where people provide account services for real world money. Essentially, I will make you this weapon if you give me 20 bucks. Okay, that's the last thing we want in SC. But crafting is a major part of the economy and making a game feel alive. So I feel like for Star Citizen's long-term success, it should have some type of crafting system. Now, I don't really feel like a traditional MMO style crafting system is really necessary in Star Citizen, because the game has so many gameplay loops and so many things that you can do. The key point of a crafting system is to contribute to the economy. And well, what is an economy? Well, an economy is resources. And in 3.19, CIG is kind of adjusting how resources are kind of going to be distributed. A part of this is an update to mining, because mining needed to be rebalanced to promote multi-crew gameplay. So with this rebalance to mining is coming a redistribution of how resources are going to be handled. So essentially from now on, there are going to be different planets that have different resources, and asteroids will have a little bit of everything. And this is important because it means that there will be specific places to go that you need to get certain things. In my opinion, this is a good change for a number of reasons. It encourages players who are looking for specific things to go to specific places, and it creates trade lanes. This way, if you need something, you know where to get it. And you don't really have to spend as much time on a third-party website trying to figure out where something is. It's a big problem with a lot of other games, is that they rely heavily on third-party websites just to figure out what they need to do and where they need to go to get something. Once you learn, you can always get aluminum from Microtech, for instance. You will just always go to Microtech to get aluminum. You don't have to worry about, you know, there's a big deposit in this place, there's a big deposit in that place. You know, you can get it here. A second thing is that it allows for kind of more emergent gameplay, because once this system starts to pop up, different pirates will know, hey, here's an aluminum trade lane, I'm just going to kind of keep an eye on this area. And that kind of encourages that type of gameplay as well. But more importantly, isolating where resources are gives players a reason to travel around. You need to get aluminum from here, you need to get iron from here, you need to get copper from here. So putting these resources in different places encourages players to travel. The same thing goes for making different star systems industry epicenters. And this makes sense to encourage players to go to different star systems. Now, a lot of people were kind of, wondering about this because just about everything is in Stanton. And it has to be like that for now because Stanton is the only star system we have. But CIG can't keep it like that because they want players to visit Pyro and Nyx and the other star systems in the game. And if everything is in Stanton, well, then there's no real reason to travel to these other star systems. So the way they're trying to balance it is there will be a lot of risk into going to these star systems like Pyro and Nyx. They'll be very dangerous because they're not as closely protected by the UEE and the corporate planets that kind of protect Stanton. So Stanton will be kind of more like a starting zone, and these other star systems will give players the ability to make more money, but it will be more risky to go there. This is a good way to balance the gameplay. Yes, you can get a little bit of everything in Stanton, but if you want to make the big bucks, you have to travel to a more dangerous system to do that. This will encourage players to go there, pirates to engage them, security to protect them, salvagers to salvage up any wreckage, and drawing the economy outward into different star systems, drawing the gameplay, spreading it out to different planets, different star systems, will bring in the other gameplay loops. But it really all comes down to the economy. If CIG can successfully move these resources to different planets and different star systems, then it will draw the player base out away from Stanton and encourage the type of gameplay that CIG actually wants, that the players actually want. Because at the end of the day, you want to create a zone that is kind of safe for players to begin in. And I think Stanton, it would be a good beginner star system for players to get introduced to the mechanics in the game. And then once you are capable, you can defend yourself, you are proficient at mining or salvaging or trading, then you can venture out into a more dangerous star system and make more money. Because what's going to happen is that things in these star systems may be more abundant or they may be cheaper. So what happens is you go there and you buy a lot of this thing for a cheap price, and you bring it back to Stanton and you mark it up, and you make the profit of the difference between what you bought it at to what you sold it at. In Stanton, the profit margins would be a lot less because you have a different variety of resources. So encouraging players to go to different star systems and putting different resources out there makes sense for the game. Now, a lot of people have been saying scientifically this doesn't make a lot of sense, but in reality it does. Because in space, even though there is an abundance of resources and elements, because the way different planets are formed, these elements present themselves in different ways. So these elements have essentially a different state of existence. So on Earth, iron might be a rock, but on another planet that is very volatile, iron might be like a liquid molten substance. Exact same thing with hydrogen. You might have, Gaseous hydrogen is abundant on Earth, but it really only exists in liquid form in laboratories. But on another planet, hydrogen may be naturally in liquid form, or it might be so cold that hydrogen is a solid chunk of ice. So because of this, mining them would be inefficient. That's basically what happened with Pyro. Pyro has an abundance of resources, but in lore, these resources were so uneconomical to get that Pyrotechnic Amalgamated abandoned the system. Because it's so volatile, because it's lawless and unprotected, it didn't make sense to do a lot of mining there. So there will be different star systems that have different specialties. Essentially, there will be some elements in that star system that are just too difficult to mine. It doesn't make sense to go to that star system to get that thing. And there will be some resources that are, in abundance of being in a state that is easily mineable. And then asteroids, they don't have to deal with gravity. They don't have to deal with atmospheric pressure. They don't have to deal with temperature. They don't have to deal with anything that all of the elements on a planet have to deal with, because they're in space, and space is a vacuum, and that is consistent across the board basically for all asteroids. So you go and you mine an asteroid belt, you will find a lot of different things. But on planets, there will be elements and resources that are in an abundance in certain areas and not. And Earth is just like that. There are some regions that have really good soil and are really good for planting in, like in Ukraine has very good soil, and they have a lot of agriculture there. So it would be the same way in Star Citizen, where there would be certain areas that are really good at producing a certain resource, and those areas become epicenters for industry. Also, there's a good lore reason for why there would be certain star systems that specialize in certain industries and certain star systems that don't. And it really comes down to the Mezas regime. The Mezas were basically like dictators. So they would want a tight grip on the empire. And how do you control an empire with a bunch of different star systems? Well, you make sure that they're dependent on the government. And how do you do that? Well, the best way to do that is to create several star systems that specialize in a specific area of industry. Basically, there will be 5 farming star systems, 5 technology star systems, 5 manufacturing star systems, 5 like vacation star systems, and each of these star systems would specialize in this industry. And this is important because it means that these star systems are dependent on the empire for trade. If you are a farming star system, you're not going to specialize in manufacturing. So all of your mobi-glass and all of these things would need to be imported. That way, if you ever thought about revolting or from the empire or uprising from the empire, they could just put sanctions on your planet and make everything expensive for you to import. And then all of a sudden, you start negotiating with the empire. This is a very easy way for the Mezas to keep a tight control on all of these star systems. So it makes sense in Star Citizen's storyline for the Mezas to want to do that. And you look at what happened after the Mezas left power. The Empire didn't really disband. Instead, what they did was they created an elected imperator instead of just a generational imperator. They kept the empire together because these star systems needed each other for trade. So it makes a lot of sense in Star Citizen to have epicenters of industry based on the way the story is in Star Citizen. So what does this mean for crafting? Now, in my opinion, I think a good system for crafting in Star Citizen would be a machine-based system where you buy a machine that specializes in making certain things, and then you can make those things. Now, this would be good for ships. You could have a ship that specializes in making certain things. You can have a module that specializes in making certain things, and you can have an outpost facility that specializes in making certain things. So you can have an installation at an outpost that a player could purchase. And this installation would make construction materials, or this installation might be a distillery to make distilled spirits, or this installation might be a forge that can make weapons, FPS weapons. And so these different installations at outposts, these different modules, and these different ships that are specialized in this area of manufacturing, they would give players an opportunity to specialize in a specific area of crafting, instead of making like a 3D printer that you just apply blueprints to and you can craft anything you want. In my opinion, that kind of sways away from what Star Citizen is kind of used to doing. Again, most ships carry with them a career. So you have the Vulture, that's a salvage ship. You have the Prospector, that's a mining ship, and so on. Each ship has a different career focus. And so with crafting, I think they should make it career focused as well. That way a player can invest in that specific area of crafting. And so how this would tie into the economy and having resources in different places is that a crafter who specializes in let's say a forge, let's say this crafter has a forge and they forge things out of a specific material. So they would go to a planet or star system that has an abundance of that material, so they could craft a lot of that thing. And then a trader would go to that star system, go to that player's outpost or ship, and they would buy this item at a low price, and they could sell it to a star system like Stanton for a higher price and make profit in the difference between those two things. So it would also kind of simplify the process and allow CIG to kind of control the experience a little bit more. Like I said, I feel like a crafting system that uses 3D printers or blueprints, it doesn't give players an opportunity to kind of nail down what they do, what they specialize in. Again, I don't have a ton of experience with traditional MMOs and recipes or blueprints, but I think the problem with recipes or blueprints is that they kind of encourage players to grind or min-max, and that's just not what Star Citizen is used to doing. Or I mean, there are people who definitely try to min-max and grind in Star Citizen, but that's not to do it, that doesn't translate well, in my opinion, to the type of game that Star Citizen is. Again, a lot of people feel like that doesn't matter as much in Star Citizen, because in Star Citizen the economy is a little bit different, the value of things are a little bit different. So the next thing I would say is, I don't think that CIG should make give players the ability to craft the most valuable items, because again, that would encourage or enable the ability to sell things or crafting services in exchange for real money. So the most valuable things, in my opinion, should be lootable. So the most valuable things should be either lootable in the loot table, or where you find it. And then craftings would be kind of in the middle. So crafting items would be kind of in the middle valuation or rarity. And then things you buy in the store would be on the lower end. So the things you buy in the store are not valuable, they're not rare. And then the things you could craft, they're kind of maybe a little bit uncommon, but they're still not unattainable. And then the things that you could loot, find on NPCs, on ships, doing bunker missions, these things would be the rarest items in the game, the most valuable items in the game. And I say that because it kind of balances out what players would do. If you're a beginner player, you would just more than likely buy the item, and it would be common. It would be a common item, and that makes sense for a beginning player. And then you go up a step in the game where you become more proficient at the game, more knowledgeable, you can do more things. You get into crafting and making things for yourself. These are uncommon items. And then when you start exploring different star systems, going to the most dangerous places in the game, you find the best items in the game. And so that creates a reward loop that is based on your experiences in the game, and it encourages you to go out and do things. It will encourage players to go out and explore, not just craft. Now you want to encourage players to craft so they can get items that are a little bit better than what they can find in the store, because the barrier to entry of getting items in a store is very low. You literally just have to go to the store and buy it. So creating that kind of more difficult gameplay, now you have to craft the items to get a little bit better items, that will encourage people to craft. But to find the best items in the game, you have to go out from Stanton and you have to explore the verse, and this will be kind of the most difficult gameplay in the game. And so the most difficult gameplay should have the best rewards. The medium level gameplay should have the medium rewards, and the easiest gameplay should have the easiest rewards. I think that's a good way to balance it. And again, it will encourage that type of gameplay. You want to encourage easy gameplay, you make easy systems. You want to encourage difficult gameplay, you make difficult systems. So this is just my opinion on how the crafting system could work. But let me know what you guys think. I know that crafting is something that might be, I don't want to say controversial, but it's something that a lot of people have a differing opinion on, because it's it's something that we don't really have in the game right now. It's something that is heavily dependent on what kind of economy that CIG makes for the game, and we still don't know what's going on with Quanta and Tony Z. So we don't know how big a role NPCs are going to play in the whole system. In the past, CIG has said that Quanta and NPCs will account for like 90%. But if they institute crafting, the players would, be 100% of what players trade with each other. Basically, if CIG really goes down the route of implementing a crafting system, players are going to kind of do that a lot and trade amongst other players a lot. Again, you would still have people buying things in stores, you would still have supply and demand, but crafting is always kind of the backbone of an MMO's economy. So if CIG implements crafting, in my opinion, they need to find a way to kind of put it in the middle of the value of the items. Again, you're going to be able to make your own outposts. I don't know if yet we're going to be able to make our own ships, but CIG said that they want players to be able to even own space stations. So again, I don't know what that gameplay is going to look like at the end of the day, but I think if CIG makes if CIG spreads out the resources in the game, which I feel like they said that they're going to do and makes a lot of sense for the game, and if CIG implements a machine system, then I feel like they could encourage the type of gameplay that they want. Now, I think it makes sense to introduce a system that doesn't utilize recipes or blueprints, because I feel like CIG should make this system a little bit more simple. I don't think CIG should make the system too complex, because to avoid real world money transactions and to avoid people min-maxing it, because I feel like if you have complicated recipes, people are going to be like, well, why am I going to pay all this money and do all this gameplay when, I can just have someone make me this thing and just pay them real world money to make me this thing. So again, I feel like it should be easy in a way, but difficult in a way. So you would have to travel far to get these resources, but then once you get there, it's very easy to make, if that makes sense. So it really kind of disincentivizes someone from going, oh, I'll just buy this, because at the end of the day, they'll think, oh, it's easy for me to get this thing. I'll just get it later. I'll just go and get it later. So I don't know. I feel like if CIG can find a balance somewhere there, then they could encourage certain types of gameplay and discourage other types of gameplay. And I feel like a machine system where, okay, I just have to buy this machine and go and get the resource and it makes the thing, that will encourage people to do that instead of paying someone to make them that thing, if that makes any sense. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I've been reading all of you guys' comments, trying to apply to as many as I can. You guys have been doing awesome with the videos. I really appreciate all your support, liking, subscribing, commenting. I can't thank you guys enough. I really enjoy making videos, and your support means a lot to me. So like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Salute.